Podcasting from the Lone Star State in Southern California, you're listening to the Coma Podcast with Cody and Matt.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Coma Cast. It is Tuesday, May 18th, 2021, and we thank you for joining us. We hope all of you had a great weekend. I know I did. Ready for the week. Hopefully get some things done. Matt, I know on Sunday's show you said y'all had a pretty good weekend, but you also today on Monday, yesterday, you had a little incident, a little run-in at the post office that you posted about on Twitter, and it's gotten a little traction on Twitter there. What happened to y'all?
So we've been having some mailbox issues at the post office, so they stopped delivering to our mailboxes. So it would be our house and probably 10 others due to some packages being taken out of or being broken into. We did not have anything stolen, just so we went to pick up our mail on Monday morning and, just rolled out of bed, went to the post office. And the only reason we even won is I guess there was a package David had ordered. So otherwise we usually just get junk mail. And this was 99% junk mail. So while we're there, the guy, he goes, "You guys together?" "Yes." "Well, I need some photo." I mean, this started with, obviously they're busy, they're tired, it's fine. So we quietly hand him our IDs and he's not looking at us. He's looking down. He goes, "You guys brothers?" And I said, "No." He goes, "But you live together." I said, "No." And he goes, "But," I said, "We're married." He goes, "Oh, no," and I was very much like, this is what it means when we say we come out over and over and over. We don't walk into restaurants and announce the homosexuals have arrived. Coming out over and over and over and over means things like this. And it's like, sir, have you ever heard of roommates? People live together that aren't related all the time, because David and I have different last names right now. And and we don't look alike either, like at all, other than the fact that we're both fair skinned. I'm more fair skinned than he is, than the irony of that. And
I guess I'm just gonna have to start calling y'all brothers. I'm gonna go visit my brothers.
Oh God. Oh God, please don't.
You do know, like there's a whole thing of like a lot of gays who date, they look alike.
The boyfriend twin phenomenon. But it actually happens in, people like to highlight the white gays that do it, and it's not simply a white gay boy phenomenon.
Across the board.
It is very much that kind of thing knows no boundaries.
Yeah, but I don't even think it's.
Do you know what I think is weird though? Is people, I rarely ever comment on anything like that. So I think something just bit me. Because I think it's really weird to comment on who somebody is with. It's not any of my business. But people write these really nasty comments, and I'm like, and then the same person always has something nasty to say, and they're like, "I'm single because like I won't settle." I'm like, no, you're single because you're a huge bitch and you never get a second date.
Probably a miserable person.
Like you probably are rude to servers too, and the person you're on a date with was like, "Oh wow, that's a massive red flag," and just doesn't want to be around you anymore.
Yeah.
But so I find that the people that comment most negatively about that tend to talk like that. So, but yeah, that was a fun opening to our morning.
And so like Matt, there's been a lot of, like I mentioned, it came on Twitter, you posted about it and it got a lot of traction, and there's been some pretty good like quote tweets or responses, a lot of them actually on your post.
Yeah. Some of the comments were things like, "It's exhausting." Some people were like, brothers, cousins, college roommates, monastery, assisted living, then one person, "Wait, y'all are together?" Now he was just kidding. His mutual was, but I will say that actually happens to us frequently on Twitter. Then one person, we still get the "Are you brothers?" saying, "Dear Lord, I eat his ass." No. And then, "I hope to have the confidence to one day make these people uncomfortable." And then it says, "Your brothers? Well, if we would be breaking quite a few laws in the bedroom." Wink. Now, I will say my response was, a coworker at Disney asked me once how I stayed so thin. This was back in my very early college days. And I told her for every sin I committed, I skipped a meal. And then I pointedly glanced over at my then boyfriend who was in the restaurant at the time. And
oh dear.
obviously everybody got it, and you know.
I when we were talking about, the boyfriend twin situation that people always talk about, I don't think it's just even like segmented on gay people. I think straight people have this issue too, because you do find sometimes straight couples that could essentially be brothers and sisters, but it's just that they have a certain style. And I think when people see that the style connected with who they choose to partner up with ends up being similar, because sometimes you just, you have like things in common, and, if you're dorky, you're going to choose somebody who's dorky as well, usually. And you may look similar if you have, and it's stupid if you look similar, because it might be, oh, you both have glasses and you both have dark hair.
Right. They might, and you just happen, if you style yourself a little similar, you might share some similarities from far away. I mean, when you put it that way, yeah, David has brown hair and I have brown hair, but he has really thick, dark brown hair and I don't. And, like he has dark eyes, I have blue eyes. He's a little more, he's kind of tan, and I am not.
Yeah. Yeah, I would not mistake y'all for brothers, but who knows? Right. Maybe
he's
when I visit y'all,
6 feet tall, and I am not.
When I visit you and we're out somewhere, I'll be like, oh, these are my brothers. They're brothers. Sorry, I'm not related to them, but
we're close. Oh, I got a Rent. I got a Rent reference. Sisters, we're close.
Yes, how perfect is that?
That one made me laugh out. That was from Johnny Apollo, and if you're listening to this episode, thank you, Johnny. That made me laugh.
Let's get to some headlines real quick. Miami Drag Club, though, is getting death threats. This is after the QAnon congresswoman say they sexually abuse kids. Now, the stream of attacks and threats began online after a video of drag performers dancing with children was recorded by anti-LGBTQ activists and quickly went viral. That led, of course, Matt, to the likes of Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene and other anti-trans activists to begin harassing that venue, because she has nothing else to do except remain in the spotlight. And of course, she came to prominence because she was a big anti-drag performers reading to kids in libraries. So this fits her MO.
Yeah, she's a heinous bitch.
For sure.
She only won because the guy that was against her, who very likely would have won, literally walked away from the race. And I think he had to relocate because his family was getting death threats because of her crazy supporters, and he didn't want to put his family in danger anymore, which is just insane. And she got sworn in. I'm like, can you guys fucking expel her? Like she's literally doing what she said she was going to do. She literally intended to go in, be crazy, and make a lot of noise.
A DC jail is going to move trans women out of a men's unit after officials busted after they're trying to deceive the court. Now, the Public Defender Service joined the ACLU DC in the lawsuit. Now, the group says they know of at least one other person that's currently incarcerated in the men's unit that should not be there. In a quote, "We are afraid Miss Hinton is just the tip of the iceberg," said Scott Mickelman of the ACLU DC group. Now, the group is now seeking class certification to represent other transgender individuals in the DC system who are facing similar circumstances. So, thank goodness this information came out. And they were clearly trying to, again, deceive the court, which is incredible. But we see this a lot with law enforcement at times, deceiving actual facts, I guess.
Yeah, and they wonder why they got disinvited to Pride.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that in a little bit.
The Oregon legislature just sent a bill banning the LGBTQ panic defense to out Governor Kate Brown's desk. She's a Democrat. The passage of this bill will send a strong and proactive message that the perpetrator of second-degree murder will not be able to excuse the crime simply based on who their victim is, said Oregon Rep. Karen Power, also Democrat, who was one of the bill's sponsors. Oregon would become the 14th state to ban the LGBTQ panic defense. Now, for the uninitiated, what that means is when a crime has been committed against an LGBTQ person, people have used what's called the gay panic defense, oh my God, I didn't realize I was with a gay person. I was afraid they were hitting on me, and I panicked and killed them or attacked them. And when you say this out loud, I don't know how it doesn't sound ridiculous to anybody listening, but that has been a valid defense used.
Like, yeah, we saw it a lot in our crime cases that we were talking about during the first season, and even this season on Crime Week, is that a panic defense was used a lot of times, and then they get off from the crime.
They actually have been let go. Or the person will have said, it's very likely it was a gay panic crime and they ran, attacked and left the person for dead. And sometimes it's during a sexual interaction that they discovered the other person was not cisgendered, or the person told them and they panicked. I watched a video, it was last year, of a guy. It was a young black guy telling his friends that he was gay. And they were just sitting in a room talking. Like, this was not a sexual situation. And the one guy was like, wait, really? Yeah. And it seemed calm. And the other guy just leaps on his friend and just starts beating him while the other one's filming it. I'm like,
Steve Kornacki has inked a new deal that's going to keep him covering elections and sports through 2025. Now, Matt, if you watched any of the NBC or MSNBC coverage during the most recent election, then you know all about Steve Kornacki. Now, NBC Universal announced that they came to an agreement with him to continue on through 2025, paying him in the multi-million-dollar range. And of course, for anybody who doesn't know, Steve Kornacki is gay. And so another gay journalist continuing and getting promoted and continuing on through his career. So that's something positive to an outlook, for as far as people who want to get involved in journalism or anything of that career. You can be very, very successful, as we've seen by many out and gay and lesbian anchors and reporters. So it is now different in the world of journalism.
And sometimes they move on and work and run podcasts too.
That's true.
Speaking of out people, out lawmaker and marriage activist Mark Levine is running for Virginia Lieutenant Governor. Gay Virginia State Delegate Mark Levine, currently running for Lieutenant Governor, has spent his life fighting for progressive change and winning. Levine, who is currently serving his 6th year in the Virginia legislature, has the potential to become the first out gay lieutenant governor in any of the 50 states, as well as the first out gay man elected to statewide office in Virginia. I believe Brian Sims, who's a state rep in Pennsylvania, is also running for lieutenant governor.
We've been talking about trans bills, over 50 plus trans bills that are happening throughout the entire United States. Many of them are passing. Obviously, we'll see if there's any lawsuits that happen with those particular cases, but it's unsettling to see this happening throughout the country, and especially for trans people having to live in these states and live in these cities where these bills are going through now. And in this particular instance, the Tennessee governor has signed an anti-trans school bathroom bill into law. Now, this legislation, which is House Bill 1233, is going to deny students and staff in public schools access to a multi-occupancy restrooms and changing rooms aligning with their gender identity. It's going to require schools to make reasonable accommodations for them, for example, a single occupant or a faculty restroom. Now, it further states that if someone encounters a person of the opposite sex, a definition that does include trans people, in a multi-occupancy facility, it's grounds for a lawsuit. That's also the case if anyone is housed with a member of the opposite sex during school activities that require overnight stays. Again, we've said this before, there's no factual evidence to back up anything to be concerned of what they are putting these bills out there for.
Right. It's just, this is literally what we see as gay panic put into action. That's just all it is.
I saw a graphic talking about all these trans bills, and it said you're concerned essentially about. It had a picture of Laverne Cox, and it's like you're concerned of her, but not concerned of him. And it had Josh Duggar. And It's like, yeah, that's a legit situation that you're dealing with. You don't need to worry about trans people. They are living their life. They're not worried about, and also these are other kids too. It's not like they're worried about any kind of sexual situation like this or trying to pretend to get a girl or a guy to get into the restrooms of the other sex. You know, it
Right.
is literally them living their lives, but you're concerned about that, but not concerned about someone who actually is a sexual predator. You know, like
It's like the whole thing about like, oh man, you know, gay guys growing up always had, you know, pretty girls were always their best friends. And, you know, I think really straight people see that. They just think that, oh, well, if some straight guy decides to pretend to be something he's not to get close to all these pretty young girls, you know, what if he does that? Like, pretty sure people know when you're gay.
yeah.
You know, and when you think on that, somebody who is trans is not, it's literally, they're putting out this whole mentality. They think some like big, beefy, like 300-pound dude is like trying to slip into the locker room of all these girls under the disguise of, you know, this somehow elaborate disguise that, oh no, I'm a trans person and just trying to get close to girls in the locker room. I'm pretty sure they're kids and they just are trying to change their clothes and go to the bathroom like everybody else. And the bathroom is one of the most unsafe places in a school for you if you're in a minority group. That is likely where you're to be cornered, attacked, hit, you know, the endless list of horrible things that can happen in a building. It can happen. It's likely to happen in the bathroom or a back hallway where nobody's watching.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the reality of the situation is obviously there's no factual evidence to say that what they're saying is true, that they need to be worrying about trans kids being in the bathroom.
But you know what does happen in schools? Bullying.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, exactly.
And you know what happens? Zero tolerance bullying policy where straight kid punches the gay kid and both of them get suspended. That's fair. You know, straight kid punches the gay kid hits him back, both get suspended. That's still not fair. You know, how about we punish out of the person that instigated it? Oh, wow. You know, and trans kids suffer greatly under this. And it's like Caitlyn Jenner's her initial thing in 2015 about, you know, listen to trans kids, you know, and we see you and we're here for you. We're gonna work to make the world a better place. And then turn around and say the dumb shit she did while at the same time participating in women's golf tournaments.
Yeah.
Really? And of all people, she's a former Olympian. If anybody could outwork someone, it's an Olympian. You know, you do not become an Olympian for nothing. And the hypocrisy she spews, it's just unfucking believable. But anyway,
I mean,
speaking of hypocrisy, I'm really excited about this one. This is I mentioned it a little bit earlier, and as Cody said, you know, we were going to talk about it a little later. The time is now. So police groups are banned from participating in New York City Pride, effective immediately. Now, some of y'all may have heard about this, some of y'all may have not, but it was not well received by the Gay Officers Action League, GOAL, revealed that the Heritage of Pride, HOP, HOP, the organization that is the organizer of the New York City Pride festivities, has banned official law enforcement participation in their events. In a statement from Heritage of Pride, aka HOP, they say, effective immediately, NYC Pride will ban corrections and law enforcement exhibitors at NYC Pride events until 2025. At that time, their participation will be reviewed by the Community Relations and Diversity, Accessibility, and Inclusion Committees, as well as the Executive Board. They stated, in the meantime, NYC Pride will transition to provide increasing community-based security and first responders, while simultaneously taking steps to reduce NYPD presence at events. Citing an increased budget for security and first response, Pride organizers said that NYPD is not required to lead first response and security at NYC Pride events, and all aspects of first response and security that can be reallocated to trained private security, community leaders, and volunteers will be reviewed. Fantastic. And, you know, they're really upset about that. And it's like, you know why there's Pride, right? You know, like why there's a protest? Well, let's review. Stonewall. Now, who instigated Stonewall? The fucking police. So no, you're not really wanted there because yes, if you're a gay police officer, nobody's saying that law enforcement isn't necessary. What we're saying here is that your activities against the LGBT community and minorities and Black people, especially after an entire year of Black Lives Matter protests, if you're not working to fix the system, the only way to change a system is unfortunately to participate in it. Like, you and I have talked before. There's not going to be some overnight legislation that just quote unquote fixes everything. It's just not going to happen. It's going to have to be fixed from within or completely dismantled and rebuilt. Still will not happen in an overnight swing. It's so ingrained into our society. But diversifying the police force and educating the police force and setting standards and independent review and taking steps to be monitored and worked out, and like all these issues that people say, instead of crying that you're not invited to the Pride event to march in it, how about maybe take a look at why you weren't and do better. This is an opportunity to do better. Take it in stride instead of whining that your feelings are hurt and saying, you know what, we have made the choice as gay people or as LGBTQ people to participate in the police force. What are you doing within the police force to make it better? You were not born a cop, but you're choosing to participate in. So I don't want to hear this Blue Lives Matter bullshit, Like, I don't want to hear any of that. That's just nonsense. So how about, what are you doing to do better? What are you doing to holding yourselves accountable? Are you setting up independent reviews? There's a lot to answer for, and it sounds like they've been given 4 years to take a lot of steps. So take the damn steps.
Yeah, we're going to be talking in a minute about that is essentially what you're talking about, why police are being pulled from many LGBTQ pride events throughout the country. And there are legit reasons, as always, backed up with actual evidence, as opposed to many conservatives, as we mentioned just a minute ago, who do not back anything up with proper evidence. In this case, my only concern would be, obviously, that, this isn't just like a timeout for them and then they just continue to do what they're doing with no change, I guess, that this isn't really affecting them. Hopefully, these gay officers who are really upset about this will take that being upset and take it to try to start changing the police force, because there could be a case where that nothing changes, but hopefully this is a fire that will get them moving to trying to help change. And they themselves are not going to be able to, but they can get the ball rolling to do some internal change.
Right. Nobody's saying it's going to be easy. You put yourself in a position, unfortunately, that's what it is. But how are you going to? You're the one that's going to be able. You're part of that police force. You're part of that system. Where it's, unfortunately, you need to contact your your local lawmakers and push and support and speak out in support. But there's a reason everybody sees the police as some fraternity and a big blue wall of silence when accountability becomes necessary. So prove us all wrong. If we're wrong, prove it. Step out, do something about it. Unfortunately, that's being accountable and making yourselves accountable. Pretty words don't do shit. You're gay men. We know you can write pretty words and try to talk somebody over. But unfortunately, the people listening are also LGBTQ people. We've heard plenty of lip service. Hell, half of us or most of us have given it. You're going to just have to take action, unfortunately.
My other concern is with the New York Pride organization itself, in that, if they are transitioning away from police officers securing the area, they're saying community-based security. Obviously, they haven't released a lot of information they haven't released a lot of information of what that exactly means or what their exact plans are, and they won't release a lot of it, obviously, for security reasons. But I'm hopeful that it is a good security. It's well-trained people in security.
There's also a lot of tension with the police force right now. So even the officers showing up intending to be supportive and just want to make it a secure, safe event for Pride. I get that. I get that individually. Individually, each person likely just wants to participate in Pride and show and try to build that. They want to be that bridge between the police and the LGBTQ community. Unfortunately, history and present actions are not on your side for that.
Yeah.
And people are saying, we don't feel safe with you there. So stand back, stay back,
Yeah.
So they're still going to be securing from a distance, securing perimeters and things like that. But the idea is that they're not going to be marching and to minimize their actual presence.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I would just, I'm hopeful that they at least have this planned out, and I'm sure they do, that there is enough actual security there, because obviously these can be points of interest for people who do want to do bad things, and that you do have properly trained security, I guess, that is replacing police officers. Because there's many times, and especially I feel like for smaller cities, they might, if they say they don't want police there, they get untrained security professionals, and in the area is not secure. And I think obviously with New York City, this is different.
It's very frustrating, because one of the aha moments of the protests were, my stepsister called and said there was some guy with a chainsaw, that she's watching a news story, and they're like, call 911. And she was like, but you didn't want 911 around, so now you're going to call them. I'm like, girl, you're going to have to use a little more critical thinking skills than that. That is layered. Obviously, we have a system built around, and nobody was complaining about 911. They're complaining about officers kneeling on people's necks and, profiling people. But that leads us beautifully into our main topic of, we can talk a little bit more why that keeps happening. So, Cody, you mentioned here, so LGBTQ people are 6 times more likely than the general public to be stopped by police. So if you want to talk a little bit more about that, you let me kind of talk about Pride a little bit there. So Cody found a really good study.
There's a new study by the Williams Institute at the UCLA School of Law that finds more LGBTQ2 adults than people in the general United States population have had interactions with police, including being stopped by police and seeking help from police. Now, nearly 1 in 4 LGBTQ people say that they're unlikely to call the police in the future. So that's crazy. A quarter of LGBTQ people would not call the police. Now, compared to the general population, there are about 6 times as many LGBTQ people who were stopped by police in public spaces. Now, nearly 7 times as many LGBTQ people than general public were stopped for reasons that did not involve a vehicle. So 7 to 1. LGBTQ people were more than twice as likely as the general population to be stopped while driving, 19% versus 8%. These numbers are incredibly crazy. Now, twice as many LGBTQ people approached or sought help from police as those in the general population. There could be for a myriad of reasons, needing police officers to help with the situation. And then among LGBTQ people, about 13% said they did not call the police even when they actually needed help. Now, compared with the general population, LGBTQ adults said that the police behaved properly during their contact. Fewer LGBTQ adults said that, about 10% less than the general population. And more LGBTQ people were unlikely to contact police, again, as compared with the general population. So when you look at all these numbers, you see the reason for the decision was made in many cities across the country to limit Pride interaction with police officers being there.
I found police officers to generally be super rude to me. We've had to speak with them a few times only in the last several years. And each time it was such a shitty interaction that it was like, and it didn't need to be. It was nothing crazy. Like, it was just literally the easiest thing we were calling because we were required to by law. And it was just like, it's great that people can be openly gay and serve as an officer. And the same people will say, like, we don't need Pride. And Pride is a reminder, and it helps serve as a reminder that we can walk around openly, have a podcast like this without being arrested solely for being gay. Only now. And I'd like to point out that it wasn't always this way in our country. This was only like in the mid 1900s that this like real anti-gay sentiment really arose. There's lots of documentation of male closeness, likely homosexuality, all through, early history. And it really wasn't that big of a deal. It just wasn't. I wouldn't exactly say it was celebrated. I'm not saying that, but it wasn't really, the end of the world either. And then,
Yeah.
Well, go America. We have a way of doing things.
That's for sure.
It's very frustrating because, it's like you want included in something, but your actions, unfortunately, even if it's not you personally, you're representing an organization that is under a lot of fire right now, that faces very little regulation from the rest of us, from the community that you're supposed to protect and serve. And we're telling you what to do to tell you how to protect and serve us. And you're basically like, no, we don't need that monitoring. I'm sorry. The fact that there's evidence of people literally planting drugs, if people didn't have smartphones now, I mean, the amount of shit that just consistently comes out. As some person in, I think Dallas or Minnesota, I can't even remember. I just read it yesterday. They were disbarred because they withheld evidence that would have cleared 2 black men of murder charges 5 years ago or something like that.
Wow.
And he was disbarred. He was disbarred. He should be in jail. Even if I don't know if the guys have been since executed. If they have been, this man should be literally charged with murder. But he was disbarred. Even if they were both acquitted and cleared, they faced murder charges. The moment you knew that they should not have been, you could have done something about it and you didn't. These men had to live with that, knowing they were innocent. And even if they were clear, there will always be, it's been said, there will always now be people that don't believe they're innocent. And the longer those charges stick, the less people are going to believe that they're innocent. And that's absolutely insane. These are the people you're trusting to do the right thing. But people only care, and I say this from the perspective of somebody who's worked with lawyers on both. There's always who's a plaintiff, or claimant, defendant, whatever titles you want to use. All they care about, generally, I have found, is winning their side, doing the right thing. Don't let winning a case get in the way of doing the right thing, right? It's totally the other way around. Don't let doing the right thing get in the way of winning your case. It's insane. I'm all about everybody should get a fair trial. If they say they didn't do it and they have evidence, but it's insane. People screaming at each other over the tables, and they know their client's innocent, or they know they're guilty, but somebody else is taking the rap for it. I'm like, this is bullshit.
Yeah. Obviously,
why you're not invited. So
yeah, obviously, police reform is going to take time, as we've mentioned throughout when this topic comes up. What needs to change, what shouldn't change. That's a whole conversation, that could be had, where the money goes, where the money doesn't go. But in the instance of why LGBTQ people kind of want to distance themselves or have distanced themselves in the past and currently, the numbers are there that they are stopped, harassed many times more than the general population. So we will see where this year leads us, if any police reform that happens within individual cities or states, or if there's any national bill that comes forward. But Pride will be continuing to go forward in New York City this summer with limited police force. So hope for safety for everybody, and that everybody who is vaccinated will have a fun summer. Getting to be with their friends and family and celebrate Pride.
Vaccinated girl summer. Woo!
Yes. And we'll leave it with that. And then we will see you on Thursday's show. Thanks, everybody. So, hey guys, we want to remind everyone that you can keep in touch with us on all of our social media channels, whether that is Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. You can do all of that at the ComaCast.
And we definitely love to interact and hear from all of our listeners. All of this is not possible without you guys.